State your name, sir.
Kenneth Chapman.
What is your rank?
I retired a United States Air Force Master Sergeant.
State your name.
Gary Van Cott.
And what is your rank, sir?
I retired as a major.
And you were in the Civil Air Patrol. You
Well,
want to add
that's
that?
true.
What was your rank in Civil Air Patrol?
Well, I was an airman basic, and then I was a major.
You got to Lieutenant Colonel, which was
Yeah.
a very cool thing. I got to see the change of command. Is that what that is?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We're doing a video on two guys that were born in the same year. You were born when, sir?
I was born December 23rd, 1948.
And you were born...
July 20th, 1948.
And what makes you guys interesting is you were both from the Air Force, but you're general infantry, and he's an officer. But you guys were doing similar things, even on completely different islands or countries. If I'm correct, you guys were both drafted?
I was drafted, but I avoided that.
Because you decided to volunteer for the Air Force.
Well, yeah.
Because you got drafted for the Army, right?
Right.
Okay. And you, sir?
I was drafted in June of 1968 during the Big Tet Offensive. I was drafted in the Marines.
Oh, really?
I was, and it scared me. And I went through the Marine Corps physical. They asked if I had any physical problems. I said, yeah, no guts. It didn't matter. They accepted me anyway. So at the end of that day, I went and saw my Air Force recruiter. I figured 4 years in the Air Force would be better for me than 2 years in the Marines. And now that's one of the best moves I ever made.
Probably.
Yes.
Probably saved your life. You had the same idea, right? That you'd rather be in the Air Force because that was
Well,
safer?
Yeah. I can't really say that I was thinking about that, but
But you're more interested in airplanes.
yeah, that's true.
Okay, so, but because officer training is different than infantry training, where did you go to?
Well, it's not really called infantry training.
Oh, okay.
It's basic training.
Basic. That's what I meant to
Right,
say.
yeah, basic training. And I went to Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas on August 6th, 1968. Scared to death.
Oh, okay. And you went to
I went to Lackland Air Force Base
okay
in December
December of what year?
after college.
Okay, so 1969.
No, 19. Could be 1969.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. Okay, so after that, did you go to? Because you ended up becoming like in the Air Force. You start doing like navigation school or something like that, or what was
Yeah,
that?
but that was later.
Oh, that was later. What year was that?
That was 1970-ish.
Okay, that makes sense. And you said you went to business school before you went to
Before I went in the military, yeah.
before you went in the military. Why did you? Did the draft come during business school?
No, as soon as I graduated.
Oh, as soon as you graduated
I
business school.
graduated, and then, hi, Ken.
Oh,
I got that wonderful letter, greetings.
Greetings.
It
yeah.
says greetings.
It said greetings.
Is that why you always say
I got-
greetings?
Well, I got that letter too.
That's interesting. That says greetings on
Yeah,
it.
it said greetings from the President of the United States, and it told me to go to the Boston Entrance Examining Station on a certain date. It was in early July of 1968, and that's when I was drafted in the Marines, and I decided Air Force might be better for me.
That's an interesting question. So yours said Lyndon Johnson was the president on
That's
yours.
correct.
Did yours say Johnson or Nixon?
Well, it would have been Nixon.
Okay, so that gives a better perspective on what the year was. Okay,
1970,
ish.
1969,
Yeah,
actually.
well, that's why I guessed it was probably 69 because yours came a little bit earlier than his.
Yeah.
Okay, going off of that, what happened after basic training? Where did you go after that?
Well, many people, we were called in, and they were giving the tech school assignments for the jobs that everybody would have in the Air Force. Lo and behold, I did not have a tech school. I knew how to type, so they sent me direct duty from basic training to my first permanent duty station.
Oh, okay. Let's see. And then what was that station then?
That was Castle Air Force Base in Merced, California. People often look at me and say, Vietnam War, and you were in Merced, California. I always respond, how many Viet Cong got past Fresno?
True.
So that's it. And the reason I got that was because I knew how to type, and I didn't have anything experience-wise except basic training, and I went to the Munitions Maintenance Squadron.
And what did you do there specifically?
I was a clerk typist for those people who loaded bombs on the aircraft, either by hand or by machine. They were called bomb humpers. And so they were there, and of course, this was 1968. Men were men then, and they would look at me and say, you skinny little Boston kid, you don't smoke or drink, what's wrong with you? You know, because that was the manly thing to do.
And technically, you're probably still alive because of that.
And, you know, I often wonder how many of them are still around.
Yeah, if they're all drinking and smoking.
Yeah. And it was a fascinating experience because the youngsters coming out of tech school were just starting, and many of the folks were coming back from Vietnam to their stateside permanent station. So you had that contrast there of youth and experience. And so it was just fascinating. Some people were happy with their experience, other people couldn't not wait to get out, and they were begging for early release.
That's true. I went to
Okay. Before Ubon.
yeah. I went to survival schools before that.
Okay.
I went to jungle survival school.
Oh, yeah.
And I went to water survival school, which was in Florida at that time. And I went to another one, which was what? The basic survival school.
And then what happened after that?
Well, I shipped out.
To Thailand?
Yeah. And we got there. We went to Travis, and I got on an airplane, and I arrived in Thailand.
At Bangkok first?
Well, we did land in Bangkok, actually. Don Muang.
Mm-hmm.
That was the airport then. It's not anymore. And
Well, lots of things have changed since then.
well, that's true.
And then you guys, did you fly to Ubon or did you, drive
we
over there?
flew to Iwan. We flew in a C-130.
Is that the first time you'd be in a C-130 or did you train in a C-130 before that?
Actually, I trained at Hurlburt.
At where again?
Hurlburt.
Hurlburt.
That was where the gunship training school was.
So you went to multiple bases before this even happened. You said Travis
Yes.
and Hurlburt. That's a lot of places. Because you said you were mostly in Merced for a good chunk of this, or
Well, for 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Okay. So when were you out of the Merced assignment?
I was in Merced from October 1968 to February 1971, and then I went to Kadena Air Base in Okinawa,
Okay.
which was a fascinating experience. And I worked for a weather detachment there, again, as a clerk typist. And I went ahead and just watched people, because I was in what was called the MAC terminal. Military Airlift Command Terminal, and that's where people would land and take off, and a lot of the folks coming back from Vietnam would land there, and a lot of the folks going to Vietnam would land there, and you watch the faces, and you could see the fear, you could see some of the arrogance in some, and you could also see, coming back, the joy. It's behind me now. And like I said, Kadena was a fantastic experience. And Okinawa was a fantastic experience because when I got there, it was a U.S. territory, and while I was there, it converted back to Japan. So one day we're using dollars and cents downtown, the next day we're using yen.
That's an interesting thing to.
It was a very interesting thing to go through. Very
And-
interesting.
That would also mean, because I would assume the yen was less in value than the dollar, so something would change. You'd have to change, and then you'd need more yen to accommodate for some of the price.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
that's
But
interesting.
It was just an interesting thing.
I also spent some time in Kadena. Not very much, but I was there. I was actually on leave from Ubon, and part of the time I went to. That was actually an interesting trip. I went. Where did I go? I went to Hong Kong. Hong Kong. Yes, I did go to Hong Kong first, and then I flew space available to Kadena.
Were these all in C-130s? Did that
No.
usually handle just, or is it just any airliner?
It was actually a strange aircraft. It was a C. I'm trying to think of what it was. It was a. It wasn't a.
Wasn't a C-130. You're
It
saying
wasn't a C-130. It was like a 727. And in the first half, the first part of the aircraft was cargo, and the second half was passengers.
which one was the cargo side? The front or the back?
The front,
The front was cargo. You're saying?
I think so.
Well, that's interesting. So you guys are just looking at a bunch of crates and
Well, actually, there was a partition.
oh, partition with a door. Okay, I see. That's interesting. So in Okinawa, where you said it went back to Japanese control, was it all branches of the military that went through there, or just specific?
All branches flew through, and it's interesting. Not only military aircraft, but United Airlines, TWA back then, and
Through the same airport?
all through the same airport.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
That's
it
not
was-
something that would happen today for security reasons.
Well, it could.
fascinating experience.
I mean, it could. I mean, if I guess in a different country,
it was,
maybe.
like I said, Kadena. If I had not been to Kadena, I probably would not have stayed in the Air Force. To be honest with you, I really enjoyed it there. Fascinating experience, and I was.
The food was good too.
Yes, it was. And I was young, dumb, and single, and full of myself. What can I say?
That's the PG version of what you just said.
Yes.
But so you're saying that when you went to the first part of Kadena, you enjoyed that experience.
Sure.
So that by the time you went to Okinawa, you really still enjoyed it. And
Kadena is on Okinawa.
Yeah.
well, okay. What I meant to say was that you enjoyed that portion of it, and that
yeah.
therefore that was the reason you wanted to stay, was food and like, hey, I'm liking this, I'm staying.
Yeah, right.
Instead of trying to find a way out like everybody else was, I assume. Okay.
Well, not everybody, but a
I'm
lot.
Yeah,
overgeneralizing.
sure.
There were a lot of people that wanted to get out, but there were a lot of people that wanted to stay in, who were career-minded like I was, I guess.
Yep.
Okay, so when you started to fly missions into Vietnam, like where was the first place you landed in South Vietnam?
We didn't. Well, it was Saigon.
Saigon.
That's the only place we landed.
Okay.
It was we flew missions that were double bang missions, they called them, because we landed and we refueled and we rearmed, and if we were hungry, we ate something.
If we were hungry, we ate something. That's kind of goes with the territory.
Well, and we took off again and
Okay.
flew back to Ubon.
Okay. Without getting into any classified stuff, my favorite story is where it's not the best story, but wasn't there some story where you had to tell your superior officer like, oh, sorry, we're going the wrong way. I have to.
Well, that was that happened near the end of my tour.
Really got chewed out by my commander. You see, what happened, I was simply a clerk typist, sitting behind a typewriter. I'm so old, my typewriter didn't even plug in, you know. So I did that, and one time, I just picked up a piece of paper, a little paper cut. I typed up a Purple Heart for myself, and I gave it to the commander, and he came out, "Are you out of your mind?"
Well, you meant it as a joke, so but he got mad at you for your sense of humor.
I did, but anybody say, "Yeah, you ever got put in for a Purple Heart?" Yeah, I did. I've still got a scar. Yeah. So that was one of the fun things, you know.
Well, that's actually a good point right there, is typing, because my generation they're not the best typers, but I learned how to type because I used my grandmother's, his mom's typewriter.
Yeah.
So I just typed for fun and got really good at it. And the typewriter that I had used, you had to get that stupid little white paper that was like the whiteout, and you had to push like F, and it would go on. You had to make sure you hit F at the exact same way to cover it, which looking back on it sounds so stupid, because you could just get the whiteout and go toot toot toot, and you cover it that way and then put the paper back in, or start all over.
If you wanted 2 copies, that black carbon paper in between the 2 pieces of paper, and it would copy. Nowadays, you got it.
Where we just type it on the computer. But so you learned to type on a typewriter, of course, right? Was it?
Well, I learned to type in 7th or 8th grade
From typewriters?
in a summer school.
Oh, summer school. That's
Yes,
interesting.
it was a
Basic typewriter.
Yeah, it was a basic typewriter.
And that's what you had.
Manual.
Very basic manual typewriter that you said you didn't plug in.
If memory serves me right, it was Royal and Underwood were the names of the typewriters.
Well, when you said you had to plug in the typewriter, was that to just like what was
an electric typewriter?
what was the electric part for the typewriter? Was it just like it helped you erase something a lot easier?
The electric part of the typewriter, the keys were a lot lighter.
Oh, a lot lighter,
Not unlike that. You didn't have to
Pound it, yes.
pound.
Yeah.
It's just and you were done.
That sounds
Okay.
awesome, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I do remember that typewriter being very hard to push the keys down.
Oh, yeah.
But it gave you good dexterity in the
Well,
fingers.
one thing though with practice, when I was in my 40s, I took a typing test on a manual typewriter just for fun. 58 words a minute with no mistakes.
That's they should give awards out for that now. Like, oh, can you type on an actual manual typewriter and not make any mistakes?
Yeah.
Oops. Going further into your tour, you said how many missions do you think you did going in and out of
Well, I
Ubon?
actually knew that at one time. It was just slightly more than 100.
Slightly more than 100. Wow, that's a lot.
Well, we only flew from when I got there, which was December. We flew at the end of December. That was our first mission, and we flew until June. No, that's not right. We flew until July, and maybe a little bit in August.
Is this 1973?
1972.
Okay, 1972.
And then the stupid Congress passed a law that said we weren't going to be there past August 15th, and that was the cutoff date. And we stayed there until then.
And that was 1973? Was when they passed it?
1973.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's when the Congress passed that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there was a lot of sediment to put an end to some things. Where were you in summer of 1973, Ken?
Radio operations.
When did you get to radio operations?
Well, what happened was when I was ready to re-enlist, they said, we have enough clerk typists. You need another job. I said, what's available? And they said, how about radio operations? And I thought, wow, radio operations. Hey, I can be there from the back of the racks with a stack of wax and chasing the blues and all that, have a really good time. That was not the kind of radio operations they were talking about. I got into air-to-ground communication. I was on the ground, and the aircraft were flying in the air, and they would give me their position report, and I would have to pass it to a coordinator who passed it to the air traffic controller. We were the voice of the air traffic controller back then, and whatever type of information the aircraft wanted relayed to whatever command post there might be or whatever, we were the relayer. And so I did that for 10 years. And I think the most interesting part...
10 years, wow.
Yeah, I think the most interesting part of that job happened in April of 1975, the fall of Saigon.
I figured you were going to get to fall of Saigon.
I was on Guam, Anderson, Guam, and ordinarily we would work aircraft coming from different parts, and we'd have a few. With the fall of Saigon, aircraft after aircraft after aircraft after aircraft, commonly just going on, and we were working hard. And of course, every command post in the world wanted to know the status of every aircraft in the world.
Yes.
You know how that goes. Yep. And so what happened was, at one time, the coordinator, who we would hand the position report to, gave me a note saying that such and such command post wanted to know the number of people on aircraft, whatever it was. And the abbreviation for number of people on aircraft back then was souls on board.
Yes.
Remember that? And so he gave me the abbreviation request to know SOB on such and such an aircraft. So I was so stacked with aircraft, I went, aircraft so-and-so, this is Anderson, such and such command post, request to know SOB. And the aircraft responded, be advised, I'm none too choked up with the navigator. So anyway, that was just one of the most interesting things going, because we really earned our paycheck, aircraft after aircraft after aircraft. And it was the fall of Saigon. And one phone patch from command post to one aircraft said, request to know the DV code on board. And the aircraft responded, DV code 1. It was the president of Vietnam, and he was evacuated out, you know. So that was a time, even though, quote, the war was over, unquote, April 75, we were still going at it, and it was something. It was something. Wow.
Actually, I was in Guam during part of that time.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I think when you first met, that was where I got this idea, because you both sounded like you were in almost the same spot at the same time, even if you didn't know each other, and I found that incredibly fascinating. Okay, talk about Guam.
Well, we were there in Guam. It was TDY from Plattsburgh, and we had gone over to Ubon, not to Ubon, but to Thailand. And then we flew back to, we were based out of, it was a 6-week TDY, although we may have been there a little bit longer.
Was this before Clark Air Force Base?
Yes.
Okay.
It was before I was at Clark.
Right. Well, it was after the fall of Saigon. So in Guam, you were still working radio.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So you went from well, actually, that I didn't clarify that. Were you in Okinawa when you first started doing the radio thing? That makes sense, because
No, I was Okinawa, and then I went to Keesler Air Force Base in Mississippi for training.
Oh, okay.
And then my first assignment as a radio operator, excuse me, was at McClellan in Sacramento. I stayed there for a year. I went from McClellan to Guam, and stayed there 15 months, and then back to the States, and I was at Mather Air Force Base, which is also in Sacramento.
Yes.
Yeah, and while I was there is when I started to get into voice work.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Because they heard my voice and said, hey, we could use you. In fact, if you had gone through navigator training in the late 70s, early 80s, and for the training, they would show audiovisual things. I was the voice of the audiovisual at the
That's interesting.
navigator training.
Because I went through navigator training in early 1970s.
See, that's the part that gets confusing. He went through the navigator training, but you were sensor operator in that
Right.
portion,
Well,
and then went back.
It's not unusual.
Well, no, in my brain it's unusual. In my unusual brain. Okay, so in Guam, did you see the same thing? Like people flying in or coming out or something?
No, I was on headsets
Mm-hmm.
with a microphone sitting at my radio.
Oh, in that case, you heard it.
That was it.
Okinawa was the visuals, and
Yes.
Guam was the auditory.
Yes,
Okay, that's fascinating.
a good way to put it.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you did that for 10 years just in Guam, or were you somewhere else?
No, I had many assignments. I went from, McClellan to Guam, Guam to Mather, Mather to the Philippines
Mm-hmm.
for several years. I was there for 4 years.
At Clark or somewhere else?
at
Oh,
Clark.
okay. Oh, at Clark. Okay.
And then from Clark, I went back to McClellan, and I spent 2 years in radio there. And then I transferred and became a teacher of
okay.
professional military education. Best thing that ever happened to me.
You guys both have taught at some point, because this was outside of the Air Force, but he taught at National University here in Las Vegas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, computer related subjects.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. And technically, I'm a professional teacher. I'm back teaching kids in acting, so it seems
very
to
good.
come naturally.
Yep.
So both of you guys were at Clark at some point, and you were still doing the radio stuff at Clark.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
And what were you doing in Clark besides
Well,
me and
I
my
was
mom
TDY,
eventually? You were TDY. So,
temporary duty.
what was your duty? What were you doing at that
Well,
point?
I was at Clark when I think I was temporarily. Where was I? Plattsburgh. I was at Plattsburgh for a long time.
Yeah, that was
Six years.
That was this is the part of the story that makes me like it sounds depressing in a morbid funny way, was that he was in Plattsburgh and you hated the weather so much, and you're like, I need to get out of here. And you just
Yeah, I was there for so long that I was on the list. I was number one for Hawaii. And that's where I went.
whereas where I was born eventually. So what makes that so funny to me is that somewhere, I guess you were just there's this other story I have to tell that it's funny. I'll just set it up. Was you said you had, I guess maybe it snowed and you were wet and you were like in a motel and like the heater broke or something, and you were like,
I don't remember that.
there was some story he told me about Plattsburgh. I feel it's a little awkward for me because I keep wondering if I made this up in my own imagination, so I have to edit this later. But it's one of those things where he said something like you were in Plattsburgh and your clothes got wet, so you had to let them dry, and he's just kind of laying there somewhere, and he's like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go somewhere warm. This is terrible, because there was like no heater or something going on. Something broke also in addition to that, so it was like freezing or something like that. But that's kind of how I always remember him talking about Plattsburgh, was that it was like
Well,
the
I was
worst
there
place.
for a long time.
You were there for a long time, and you hated the weather, and it was so boring or something.
Plattsburgh was, well, it was a Northern Tier base.
Mm-hmm.
SAC. I belonged to SAC. In fact,
Explain SAC. Why is this? What's
Strategic Air Command.
That's right. I know it's
Strategic Air Command.
Strategic Air Command, but you had a moment where you went, ah.
The SAC prayer, Our Father who art at Offit. Yeah, but SAC was very, very picky. In fact, the first assignment, at Castle, the munitions maintenance squadrons, a lot of the folks who came back from Vietnam would rather have a real war than what was called an ORI, Operational Readiness Inspection, because they were so picky. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Well, in general, yes.
What were they looking for that they were so picky about? What was the
Everything.
everything?
Yeah, everything. That's the best way to put it.
Like
Everything.
just they inspected everything, making sure that you're
The ORI team.
what
ORI.
in terms of what you were doing, or like they wanted to make sure the lining of your suit looked good. What's the standards?
Are you ready to go to war?
Oh, okay.
That's the best way to put
Yes.
it. Are you ready to go to war? And usually it would happen about 6:00 on a Friday night, and the phone calls would come. Recall. And of course that made everyone happy.
This it just made me think of a good topic, which was being on alert. He often has brought up this very cool subject that he would watch movies on alert.
Sure.
So was it like on a TV or something like
No,
that,
it
or
was,
just a
it was
screen?
a 16 millimeter
Okay.
movie theater.
And he often would bring up, I saw that movie on alert, and it would make me laugh because I would just imagine a bunch of guys just sitting somewhere and it's playing over here, and there's something happening over there while he's trying to watch, I don't know, The French Connection or something like that. Was that something you saw on alert, or was that in a movie theater?
Well, I can't tell you actually. What year did that come out?
1971.
No, that was too early.
Too early. Well, I mean, if they had it on 16 millimeter, but it's there. He would say things like, "I think I saw Star Trek: The Motion Picture on." It's on alert, or I saw. Okay, so you saw that one on alert and said it was
Could be.
very ponderous movie compared to the TV show, and I think you saw Apocalypse Now on alert, and that movie annoyed you.
Probably.
Because he said that doesn't make any sense. There was no planes that got shot down, and that whole movie's meant to be a fever dream. Is really what it's supposed to be. It's really Heart of Darkness adapted to Vietnam by Coppola. But did you see any movies while on alert or something like that?
Well, actually, I was never on alert. Logged down. Bogged down. If I was on alert, I would be just in the barracks, and I had to be there if there was an alert.
Right.
So I would watch TV or whatever.
Okay. What did you watch on TV then? In that case,
Gosh, it was. We had rabbit ear TVs, had 3 channels, and so that's about what we would watch. I can't remember the shows from back then.
was it
A lot of them.
NBC, CBS, and
NBC, CBS, ABC. Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
That was all.
The Dumont Channel or something was
No.
a
Yeah.
possible fourth one.
And let's go on record here. December 6th, 1968, in the barracks with a bunch of GIs, we watched the Elvis comeback special.
Was he fat back then or not yet?
No, he wasn't fat.
yet.
Okay,
he,
not
he
yet.
was slim and trim and awesome.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's even stranger to think about. Is you
No,
guys
it's-
watched an Elvis comeback event?
Yeah, because you see, a lot of times the alert folks who were on the real alert, like the aircraft folks and airborne folks, they would actually have to go to their own special building and be there. And that's where they would have like the 16.
The alert facility.
The alert facility.
So that's good.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're bringing this up. This is a good
The
topic.
alert facility was at Plattsburgh, and they just tore it down recently.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. Well, the base is closed.
Yeah.
It closed in the 90s,
Yeah.
I think, and they've gradually been tearing things down that aren't needed for the whatever. Now the municipal airport in Plattsburgh is at the base.
Yeah.
So they closed it 30 years ago, and it took them 30 years to tear down buildings.
Oh, we could tell you stories, man.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's why we're here. You're
Yeah,
in. We're,
yeah.
I want stories about weird things like that.
Yeah.
Well, it took a long time. Of course, it took a long time to get so they would know what they wanted to tear down.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Like
Exactly
at
right.
Plattsburgh, I'm on a website that has Plattsburgh stuff on it, and they there are people that were stationed there, mostly kids that were in the base housing at Plattsburgh, not too many adults. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
What's your stories that you have
Well,
on that
it's
subject?
interesting. A lot of people say I'm not what you call good luck for bases. I was stationed. Castle, closed. Kadena, open.
Good luck. Good for Katina. I bet.
Keesler is still there. And then McClellan, closed. Anderson, open. Mather, closed. Clark, closed. So a lot of the places where I was are no longer.
Yes. In fact, I was at all those places too.
Yeah.
And I was there when I look at my record and consider the places that I've been, a lot of the places that I was stationed at have been closed.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing.
In fact, almost all of the first half of my career, all the bases are closed.
Yeah, that's amazing.
See, I would have figured it's kind of amazing that you guys could have literally been in the same spot, but because he's an
Well-
officer, you wouldn't cross paths necessarily unless you were in like a. I'm not even the officers club. Like you'd just be like, I'm at the commissary, and you just go the base exchange, walking by, that sort of thing like that. So I mean, because it's a small world in some ways. Were you both at Nellis at some point? He was at Nellis, and that's the end of his.
I was never stationed at Nellis.
You were never stationed at
I
Nellis.
was never stationed
Nellis
at
is
Nellis.
a lucky base considering how close it is
Yeah.
to a giant city now, like Las Vegas.
Yeah. Well, Sacramento had McClellan and Mather, and they're both closed now.
Right.
I was working after I retired from the military. I worked civil service for a while, and I was at McClellan. They closed the base, and so I transferred down to San Diego, and I had a job that I just hated.
Oh, your first job you hated.
A passion. I mean, I went from a training specialist, in the classroom teaching, to training manager, and I worked for the Navy. And at the time, the Navy, they weren't using civilians as teachers. I was what was called an employee development specialist. We would go out and we'd contract, and for one class, I would get like 100 people who wanted to do the class. I'd select one, and then 99 people were mad at me, and I had to tell them why they didn't get the class. That was miserable. That's when I said,
Why would they have you look for just one person and then dismiss? That sounds incredibly inefficient.
no, nope. Couldn't do it. I had to go out and say, hey, do you want this? And I had to review every request, every
Right.
one.
Yikes.
And so I was in my 50s at the time, and I said, the heck with this. I was alone. Kids were grown. So I just went ahead and I left civil service and became an actor because that was the dream from my childhood. So I became an actor, and I've done quite a bit of stuff.
Which I've seen you in
Yeah.
person, face to face,
Exactly.
holding you, moving you to to your spike, your mark.
Exactly. So look, in
3
4
times?
years from now,
Yeah.
I'm going to be 80 years old. I'm not going to look back and say, I wonder. I'm looking back and saying, I gave it a good shot, Yep.
So what was the last base then you were stationed at?
McClellan.
Okay, McClellan. Okay, and it was Nellis.
Yeah.
So even though he's been to Creech for like Civil Air Patrol
Well,
stuff.
I've been to Creech a bunch of times. I've been there, been to not McClellan, but I have been to McClellan actually.
Yeah.
I think I was there. It was there Civil Air Patrol in McClellan.
Yeah, when he was at Nellis, he was you were in intelligence. The what was that?
Yes.
What did they call it exactly?
Well, an intelligence officer.
Intelligence officer. And they were in. And this is one of my memories. He was in like a trailer. Like they didn't have like an actual building, which is
Well, they built a building there.
eventually, and they built a building. But my point is that this is intelligence. You get a trailer, and it's like what? And it was like across from I guess Red Flag? Was it across from
Well,
Red
it
Flag?
was near Red Flag.
Near Red Flag, and he was in a trailer, and I remember he would go in there, and when they finally got a building, I think it was when there was an actual building built in that spot, he put me in a room and said I could like draw stuff, and I think by the time he had to pick me up, I had taken all these yellow stickies and stuck them all over this empty office, saying this is my room. Like I gave myself fake notes, and I thought that's one of my favorite memories. It's just everywhere. So that's the only time I think I was in that building, like by myself for a while. But yeah, that's kind of mostly my memories of Nellis Air Force Base. Are simple things like the commissary and the BX, and of course the hospital and that sort of thing like that. Of course, I take him to the base regularly when he has appointments, but that's a completely different story. When you, I think what we'll start to wrap it up is that when you decided to be an actor, would you consider some of the narrating of the videos that you did for the navigation school, I think is what you said it was. Was that kind of something that prepared you for acting, or did you have training for acting back in school?
I didn't have training for acting at the school, but I did have a lot of acting training. I took lots of acting classes.
Oh, when did you take acting classes then?
San Diego.
Really? What was in like outside like some
actors workshops?
Actors workshops. That's fun.
Yeah, exactly. And what happened was, I went ahead and did that. And when I got to McClellan, which was at that time a large Sacramento, it was the Sacramento Air Logistics Center, and they had all kinds. So I did that for close to 20 years. I was the voice of McClellan, doing that. And then I got into the acting. And one story I like to tell is while I was in San Diego, I was on the Backstage website, and we were on a chat room. And so somebody said, hey, the voice actor studio with John Lipton is coming to Beverly Hills, only 2 times it ever left New York, and we can give you tickets if you want. I said, sure. I didn't know who it was going to be. So I drove up from San Diego up to Los Angeles, and we went in, and there were a lot of rumors, they had just finished one session, and it was Jay Leno. I said, oh, that's interesting. I wonder who we're going to do. So we go in and we sit down, and John Lipton comes out.
Is he the Inside the Actor studio, John Lipton?
Yeah, Inside the Actor studio.
He's passed away since.
Yeah,
but
I know.
Yeah. But that's incredible that you got to meet a young John Lipton at the time.
Yeah, so. And he came out and he says, tonight's guest is a motion picture legend. Would you please welcome Clint Eastwood?
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so I got to see Clint Eastwood in person. And if you ever watch Inside the Actor Studio and you watch the Clint Eastwood one, every time I've watched it, of course I've watched it 100 times, every time the audience comes up, I always look, did I get on camera? Did I get on camera? No. However, my voice did get on there because he says, how did you come about the character Dirty Harry Callahan? And of course everybody applauded, and I went, woo! My woo made it on the air. So if you ever watch that episode of Inside the Actor Studio and you hear the woo, you can say, I know the guy who did that woo.
That's Ken Chapman.
It is. It's great.
Clint Eastwood is getting really up there in age. He's already hitting his mid-90s.
Oh, yeah,
because he was born in 1930, and he was in Korean War.
What year was it? This was 2003, I think
okay,
it was.
2003.
It's going way back.
That's when he just directed Mystic River, which is one of my favorite movies he did.
That's what he was publicizing.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite
Yep.
Clint Eastwood movies that doesn't have Clint Eastwood in it. That's one of our favorite things we talk about.
That's exactly right.
In film school. What's your favorite Orson Welles movie that doesn't have Orson Welles in it? Or what's your favorite Kenneth Branagh film or Woody Allen film that doesn't have him actually in it? That's the same thing with Clint Eastwood or any actor director.
Yeah.
What is your favorite plane that you were ever in?
I have to say the C-130.
Okay, the C-130 with the Gatling guns and the...
Well, because it was... The wonderful thing is that they still have AC-130 gunships. They still do. And I got to see they have the sensor operators. We had a booth. It was an enclosed area in the middle of the aircraft, and that was where the sensor operators were. There was two. Let's see. There was a electronic warfare officer.
Did you say there were two or there was four? I already missed this part. You said there was two people that were there.
There were four people.
Okay, you said four people.
There were four seats.
Oh, four seats. Okay.
And we generally had four people in there.
Okay.
And there was a sensor operator.
You.
And a.
Or so, or below 100 missions.
Above 100.
Above 100. Okay. Into enemy territory. Was how many times a week did that happen?
We usually flew about 3 or 4 times a week.
Wow, 3 or 4 times in the middle of the night, because obviously
yes,
we
we flew in the middle of the night, pretty much always, except for at the very, very end, we flew in Cambodia in the daytime.
Okay, what was going on in Cambodia? They were just there?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's one of those. Yeah, so that's why I have to. That's one of my favorite things I can never talk about. Is what was good of the. So, what was the other thing I was going to ask? It was Oh, okay. Like, so flying 3 or 4 times a night, going
3 or 4 times a week.
I mean, 3 or 4 nights. That's what I meant to say. A week, 3 or 4 nights a week. There was something you brought up with Mom once, where they would sometimes shoot back. They had like artillery or something, or what?
Well, they had AAA.
AAA. What's AAA? And it's not the
anti-aircraft artillery.
Okay, yeah.
They didn't have very much of that in Cambodia, which was where we flew starting in January, February, until the end of the war.
Okay, that's interesting. And
But,
and you usually when they give themselves away, once you start seeing them shoot.
yeah, but the targets there weren't very big.
Right, exactly. And that was
So-
up to you or the pilot to see out the window.
Well, we would see them. We would see the firing, and pretty much it was just us, the sensor operators, and the other people in the back. There was an IR operator, and there was a fire control officer, and it was a Black Crow, which was he was an electronic warfare officer.
Okay. Now we're getting the people that were also in the plane.
Yeah.
Cool. I jiggled that memory, those neurons. Yeah. So most of the time you were doing desk work.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
Yep.
Did you have any friends that saw combat? That's a question
yes.
I never got into.
Oh, yes.
Do you have any good stories about those guys?
Well, I've got one story that kind of brings a tear to my eye here.
Oh, well, don't.
is
If it's too
one of-
sad, you don't have to talk about it.
Well, no, one of the bomb humpers went to Vietnam and never came home.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And a few of them were like that. Now, fast forward 45 years, and I was finally able to make it to Washington, D.C., to the Vietnam Memorial. And I feel, every veteran who goes there, not some, not a lot, not most, every veteran who goes there checks the wall for names. And I was no different. Mm-hmm. And I checked, and I found quite a few. Mm-hmm. So that was a tearjerker.
Right.
And
We were there at the very end of the war.
Yeah.
And there was a guy that I met. He was a friend of my roommate. He was an OV-10 backseater.
Yeah.
And he was getting extra flying hours. And he got shot down on the last day of the war.
On the last day.
The last day. Yeah. And
what was his name?
I can't think of it right now.
Okay. What was your name of your?
Mike Vangelisti.
Oh, what, with a V?
with a V.
Oh, interesting.
Yep, yep. And, it's interesting. I told you my first assignment, it was, hey, we're rough bomb humpers, And where I was the clerk, when they finished loading the aircraft, they had to fill out paperwork. And it was, Chapman, give me a pen. Chapman, I want a pen. I want it now. Chapman, give me a pen. All right. So 45 years later, when I visited the memorial at the wall, I left a pen.
Aw,
Oh,
I like that.
Yeah.
Didn't you know somebody from Arcadia High School that went to
well,
to the war?
there were two people that were killed in Vietnam. One was he was really stupid. He flew,
Was he part of McNamara's? What was the name of that? Where they were sending people with low IQ for a while. What was the name of that?
I can't.
That's okay.
No, he was. Both of these guys were in the army that were killed, and one of them was a. He was. How can I put it? He was not. He was in a flying squadron in the army, and it was his first mission, and he took off with a pilot, and they went out and buzzed a friend of the pilot's who was in what you call it? Well, he buzzed somebody, and they were on the ocean off Vietnam,
Oh, that's interesting.
and he got too low and he crashed somehow. I don't know exactly how.
Was he stupid in high school? You're saying, or what he did was
No,
stupid?
this was the pilot.
Oh.
My friend was not the pilot.
Oh, I see. Your friend was just on the plane. Okay.
Yeah, he was riding a back seat or whatever.
Do you remember his name?
Yes, his name was Vaughn Williams.
Why do
I
these
think.
guys have V's in their name? This is kind of startling. Who's the other person you said you went to high school with? Who?
Well, I can't think of his name right now, but he was another guy that was killed in Vietnam.
Was he in Air Force or was he?
No, he
Army?
was in the army.
Okay, he was in Army. Okay, that's what most of the Vietnam War films are about. Are usually the Army.
Yeah.
So I've been hoping to make one more about the Air Force at some point if I was ever so lucky. So
Yeah.
that's a big if.
Yeah.
But let me think. I'm gonna try to put this into a happier note.
Okay.
Let's see.
May I?
Oh yeah, go for it.
A lot of times when people make a career out of the military, while we're doing it, we're thinking, why am I doing this?
Yeah, well,
What-
especially if you're drafted. Like,
Yeah,
why am I here? Yeah.
why am I doing this? Why did I make this a career? After you retire, when I fully retired in 2016, I had a physical, and they discovered stage 3 colon cancer. Now, thanks to my TRICARE for Life and Medicare, I had a couple of surgeries. I had chemotherapy, did not pay a dime. Did not pay a dime, and I'm sitting across from you right now, a healthy human being. So,
That's great.
Yeah. Well, that's what they owe you. Is if they.
I don't know if I'd say they owe me, but I do feel I am grateful. I am not one of the heroes who flew. I'm not one of the heroes in combat. I served my country very well, but I am not a hero by any means.
Oh.
They're the heroes.
His reaction is, that's my father. So I mean, it's that's one of the things that I don't want to criticize my country too much, but it's like having a situation where most of the people who don't, they don't serve in the military at all, and they don't have that kind of health care that, I think everybody has a right to,
Yeah.
any kind of good health care. They have a right to it. It just makes me sad that like somebody would just fall apart somewhere because they can't pay for it versus oh, this person they served, so therefore we owe them, and that's kind of why I think of it in those terms. But okay, well, favorite Air Force base you were in?
Well, I don't know. I have to say Plattsburgh.
That was your favorite? I thought that was your
Well,
least favorite.
It's both, I guess. Well, the thing we were kind of isolated up there, and up in the North Country.
Had a lot of time to think about stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite base?
Kadena.
Oh, okay.
Kadena. I was young, silly, and
Silly?
yes, I was silly and had a lot of fun. And even though I didn't get a Purple Heart for the paper cut, I'm still happy I served there. I really enjoyed Kadena.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Master Sergeant Ken Chapman, and thank you, Major Gary Van Cott, Lieutenant Colonel in Civil Air Patrol. I always like saying that extra branch right there, that little extra subtitle.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to try to take this stuff and find pictures and video on YouTube and try to make a nice little like photo album of this, because I've always wanted to do this, because honestly one of the things I've thought about and why I wanted to do this is if I'm so lucky and have kids one day, I would be able to have them listen to my father and listen to a co-star I once acted with. How many people, think of it this way, if you're an actor, especially when you're in theater, how many people get to hear a recording or a video, in this case it's irrelevant, but of any kind of recording of somebody they worked with from, when they were young? They don't have things like that. That's only something in the 21st century you only could be so lucky you would have. So I've always wanted to be like, hey, this is your grandfather, or this is your friend talking about something personal that they went through, that only so many people have a recording of that. They're, again, only so lucky they're in a documentary. But sometimes it's just nice to kind of have an unfiltered, I'll do little little snips of the parts where I messed up and the sneezes and coughs we got. But, something like that, I think that's a good thing to have on record. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. I enjoyed the heck out of this, young man. I did. Thanks, man.
One of his my mom's friends. He's passed away, but he would always refer to him as Major. It was Raquel's husband. What was his name? I forgot his name already.
Oh, I can't think of it.
I can't think of his name either, but he would always call him Major, and he would always refer to him as young man.
He was a Master Sergeant retired.
Yeah. He would always refer to him as young man. Like, hello, young man. And I assume it was because he was older than him. So it was just like, why is he calling him a young man? But that was always very funny. But it would also happen in band, because he introduced clarinet to me, and there would be somebody who would be in the band. I don't know if it was Walt Baning or something like that, but he would be like, hello, young man. And I'd be like...
Probably somebody like...
Walter Burt Esterman or somebody would say, like, hello, young man. And, I only just recently met somebody who who did music on the Strip, and he performed in all those old lounges back in the old days of Las Vegas. And he said he was at the dentist when my mom went to go get in. He was also on a walker, and I said, oh, my father's on a walker. And he was like, oh yeah, I have trouble playing the guitar now because my arms are doing this. And I was like, oh, that's kind of unfortunate. Wow. So Dad's luckier than Mr. I can't play my guitar anymore because I have to keep these arms from moving all over the place. But okay. Well, thank you, man.